Hi guys, this is Andrew Holmes and we are here with Farrah Ali. And the great part is this is a part of real people, real deals. Farrah happens to be from Lombard, Illinois, so another suburb of Chicago. And we're going to kind of talk to her how, what she's been doing in terms of investing in real estate and how that has worked out and what has happened over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of investing. So Farrah, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So Farrah, for anybody listening to this or watching this, what do you do? What's your full-time job today?
So I am an insurance manager. I'm an underwriting manager actually at an insurance company. I've been doing that for about 16 years. I also have 2 kids, and I guess that's about it.
Okay. So your full-time job is a underwriting manager for an insurance company, and you have 2 kids.
Yes.
Okay, great. And what age would you say these kids would be?
My kids are 16 and 18 years old. I have 2 boys.
16 and 18 years old. Okay. So for anybody listening to this or watching the video with us kind of today, how did you come to real estate? I mean, did you go to college? Did you quit college? What was the background that brought you to real estate? Because you do have a pretty decent full-time job, correct?
Correct. So what got me into real estate was I got into a situation where I had to separate from my ex-husband.
Okay.
And I basically had nothing. I had a couple $100s in my bank when I separated. And shortly thereafter, I found out that I had to be the sole provider of the kids.
So you basically ended up in a divorce.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So with that responsibility on my shoulders, I had to figure out, even though I had a great full-time job, I had to figure out how to make more money so that I could be able to take care of those kids. So
hold on. I want to kind of go back a little bit. I want to step back 2 or 3 years, 4 years prior to that, right? So you get married, you have 2 kids, and at that point you started working. Did you have a job? Did you not have a job at that point?
I did have I got married, and then from there I wasn't working until my ex lost about $100,000 that he borrowed on credit cards for stocks.
From you?
No, he borrowed the money from credit cards.
Credit card, okay.
Yes, and then yes, he did end up using about 40 grand of investment money for him to invest.
Okay, that money
in
was
his
yours,
business.
Or?
Yeah, it was on my credit cards.
It's on your credit cards. Okay, got it. So that was what kind of really put you had to go to work.
Exactly. So my child was 6 months old. So in order to pay the bills, I had to start, and I started making a job. It was like an administrative job, making $12 an hour. But I didn't really care. I just want to make sure that I was helping him pay the bills. So I did that, and I did that for a while, and I ended up actually doing really well and getting promotions within the company. But there came a time period where I didn't really have anything for myself. I just kept earning and just paying off his bills, and then one mess got into another. So eventually he stopped working, and I was the only one working. And then from there, there was just a lot going on, and I just couldn't handle it anymore.
So you decided that you were going to go your separate way with your kids?
Yes, after about 10 years of working and having nothing for myself, I decided that it was time to make a change.
Okay, got it. So during all of this time, right, did you have, now I know you have an MBA, right? Whenever you get married and all this time, at this time, did you graduate from college or no?
No, so I decided to go back to college. I didn't even graduate and get my undergrad until 2010. So this was during the separation is when I decided to go back to school. From there, after I got the divorce, I decided to get an MBA because that was the first thing that came to my mind, and when making more money was to get an MBA. Okay. So I went and got my MBA, I graduated, and then although I did get a raise, it wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't gonna bring me wealth. It wasn't gonna take care of my kids' college.
You started doing pretty decent for yourself, right? I mean, you have a good job, you've grown in that company. So the goal of getting an MBA, right, was so that you could kind of maybe climb the corporate ladder. Was that the goal?
Yes.
Okay, that was the goal. Okay,
Yes.
so at this point, now you start looking for different options. Why not just keep working for the company that you work for? You had at that point worked for them for a long time, right? Why start looking outside of your corporate career, and why start exploring what you could do with real estate? What was that impetus that kind of pushed you there?
Well, I realized, if I just get between 5 and 10% increases in salary every year, it wasn't going to get me to my goals. So I started reading a lot of books, which got me into real estate. And from there, after reading the books, real estate was a way to go to build wealth, is what I was kind of reading every
why
year.
not do this? I mean, why not just get married to somebody rich and be happy at home? No, I'm just
Because that's not who I am.
okay. I just had to ask, right? Because some people would do that, and nothing wrong with it. It's just so. Question is this, right? You start for MBA. When you come to real estate, right? How long ago did you come to us, or did you come to Chicago Real Estate Investors Association?
It's been 4 years.
4 years. Okay. So was that the first time you had ever invested in real estate?
It was the first time I invested. It's not the first time I went to a real estate class.
A real estate class, okay. And so you come over there, and at this point, did you have a lot of savings? What was your financial situation? You're divorced, taking care of 2 kids, working a full-time job, right? Where were you financially?
I was in about $70,000 in debt.
$70,000. And where did that debt come from?
Most of it was my school loan, and then about 20 grand of it was after we got the divorce, and I had let my ex borrow on my credit card. He borrowed 40. I had to end up taking half of it.
Okay. So part of it was from the divorce, from whatever he was trying to do, that he had borrowed, and then part of it was your school loan for finishing your MBA.
That's correct.
Got it. So you start now. Think about this. For most people, you have a pretty good corporate job, pretty decent. You have $70,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 kids to take care of that are in their teens. On top of that, you want to get into real estate and start investing, right? That for most people that would be just too much. And on top of that, having $70,000 in debt to start investing, it's almost sounds crazy.
It does. It totally does. But actually, what happened was I went to a couple of real estate seminars to get started, but I ended up coming to your 3-day event that you hold. And what I realized there was how much I didn't know. And there were really 2 things that I would say that got me to start working with you guys. The first was how transparent you were. I mean, you were able to put out hundreds of properties that you guys did. And the one thing that I've always learned in life was always when you're going to have a mentor or you're going to follow somebody that's actually already done it. So that was something that, you could even pull up online and make sure that, you could check to see if it's credible. So that was one thing. And the other thing is, I didn't know anything really much about real estate, but the one thing I did know was that you knew what you were talking about. Some of the details and how specific you got told me that you know your stuff.
So, I mean, I knew that not only had I done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses here, but literally people that I've worked with over the last 4 or 5 years right here in Chicago. I've done thousands of transactions, and that was apparent to you, right? Okay. So at this point, you decide that I'm not going to do a flip this house. I'm not going to do go big or go home, right? Rather than trusting that, I'm going to do something that seems like, this is fun. I'm going to rehab a house. You didn't take that approach, which is the approach of, this just seems good. You took the approach that we take, which is, the science of building wealth. And that means that every single action is thought through, is calculated, is thought about how is wealth built. Doesn't matter if you're trying to do a flip, doesn't matter if you're trying to do a portfolio. So you understood that it's not about an art, it's not about a dream, it's not about a hobby. It's that there's a science and there's a method to building wealth, and you adopted that idea, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward it today, right? It's been 4.5 years. I'm gonna say about 4 years, 4.5 years. So today, are you doing rentals? Are you doing flips? Or are you doing wholesales?
Well, the majority of my transactions are rentals.
Uh-huh.
Because I do want to build wealth. I do have a full-time job, so I don't need, I use that for my day-to-day expenses. And
Your full-time job?
Yes.
Okay, so initially you started by doing rentals, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how many rentals do you have as of today?
As of today, I have 16.
16 rental properties, okay? Now, on all these rental properties, not only do you have equity in every single rental property, and the equity is sizable because you buy properties based on 3 criteria. Number 1 is it has to have 25-30% equity when you buy it.
Yes.
It has to have, what kind of cash flow does every single rental property have that you have on an average?
On an average, it would be $500 a month.
500 per property?
Per property, yes.
Per property. So for 16 times 500, that's $8,000 net a month, right? In 4.5 years. And on top of that, these are in stable, good areas,
Yes.
right? My question is this. You technically could be jumping up and down, right? Oh my God, I'm rich, right? And start buying crazy things and start making financially crazy decisions if you wanted to, because you have legitimately $8,000 coming in a month. How come you're not doing that?
Because if something works, why would I mess with it?
Okay.
I'm just gonna copy that formula over and over, duplicate it over and over again.
Okay, so you do what we call a 100% recycle formula, right?
Yes.
Because when you started with $70,000 in debt. Because for anybody that's listening to this message, what they don't understand is how does a woman who has a good job, so you had 2 things going for you. Number 1, you had a job. Number 2, you had cleaned up your credit, right?
Yes.
You had debt, but at least you didn't have bad credit, right?
Right.
Those 2 things were going for you. So, and from there, you had to start kind of building, right? So whenever you buy rental properties, just to keep it simple, right? Where did you get the money? Did your parents give you the money? Do you have a rich uncle? Did you find a rich husband? What did you do?
Well, I actually got private money lenders from the group that we work with. So it's been people that I've been connecting with, people that you've recommended, and it's come to a point now that I've done enough deals that I have people coming to me and asking me if I want to borrow money.
And they're all your properties are in Chicago suburbs?
Yes.
All of them?
All of them.
Right? So you have properties in Lyons, you have properties in like Justice, you have properties in Midlothian, you have properties in like a lot of the west and southwest suburbs.
Yes.
Right? You have properties. And you're buying what? Condos, townhouses, multifamilies, single families? What type of houses are you buying?
Single family. I do have 1-2 unit,
Yeah.
but mostly single family.
Mostly single family houses. Got it. And you buy in challenging areas, affluent areas, or bread and butter areas?
The bread and butter areas.
Bread and butter areas.
Yes.
Okay. So you're buying in stable neighborhoods. And how long do you rent these properties for? Do you do 1-year lease, 2-year leases, 3-year leases, and why?
A minimum of 2-year lease, but the longer the better, because the less turnover there is.
Okay, got it. So you follow the formula that we laid out, which is 2, 5, 7. 2 years, 5 houses, get them all paid off in 7.
Correct.
Got it. And so I had talked about 4.5, 5 years ago for our concept, which is that if you take care of real estate for the first 5 years, real estate will take care of you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Right? It's a profound statement, yet it's understood by very, very, very few people. right?
Right.
Did that when we first had this conversation, right? You came to the 3-day, right? Did that make sense to you?
At the time, it made sense to me, but now that I've actually been doing it, it's probably, I would say that anybody that's watching or listening, I would say that definitely works as long as you follow the process.
Okay, because you do realize, I mean, that at 16 properties, $500 a pop, right? Each property, 500 a month, times 16. That's a lot of money, right? I mean, technically, you could retire today if you wanted to.
Yes, I could.
Yeah. So why don't you? Why do you keep working your job? Not only in the midst of all of this, you got a new job, right? So you had a job change. You got a better job than you had before.
Yes.
On top of this, you've been doing something else, which is that you wanted to pay your debt off. And you did not want to use the rental income, which is our formula, that don't use your rental income to live on, but use that rental income to pay off the rentals, right?
Correct.
So you didn't want to touch the rental income, right? But you wanted to pay off all your debt from MBA and the divorce and that sort of thing. So you used another strategy, which we talked about. What did you do?
I started wholesaling. So basically, I had a couple of probably 3 to 4 properties going on at once, plus my job and the kids. So I actually got that idea from you, where we took one property and we wholesaled it, and from there I just kind of duplicated your formula.
Okay, so per wholesale on top of that, you've made about what? About 15? How much money you have made?
Per wholesale, I would say an average of 15,000.
15, 16,000 is what
Per
I was going to say.
wholesale, yes.
About per deal.
Yes,
Right?
per deal.
So this year, you've done probably another what, 7 transactions?
I've done 8 transactions, in the
transactions.
last
Year or so.
5 months.
5 months
Yeah,
or so.
I just started wholesaling 5 months ago.
5 months ago.
Yes.
So you realize that's a 6-figure income almost.
Yes.
It is a 6-figure income.
Yes.
On top of having rentals, on top of your job,
Yes.
right? So isn't it time to quit your job and just party like there's no tomorrow?
No, I have goals.
Okay, what are the goals?
Well, I do want to get to 25 rental properties. And then I have a little bit of school loan left, so I want to pay that off completely.
Okay.
I'm like 80% there.
Okay.
And then from there, I enjoy this, so I'm just going to keep going until I feel it's time.
Okay. So what is the drive? Because typically, for some people, it's, I'm too young. For other people, it's I'm too old. For other people, I'm too tall. For somebody, I'm too short. For somebody, it's I'm from India. For somebody, I'm from Mexico. For somebody else, I'm from some country in the world. For most people, the excuse is I belong to the human race. How come you don't have that problem?
The problem of, well, what problem are you referring to?
The problem of having an excuse.
Oh.
Because you had a lot of odds stacked against
Yes.
you, right? Why don't you think like normal human beings that you can't do it?
I'm not really sure why I think that way, but I think a lot of it comes from the responsibility that I have, and a lot of it also comes from being a great example to my kids, because I want them to even be more successful than I am.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to be a parent is to be a great example.
So let me ask you this. How did you feel when you end up getting married? You got married at an early age,
Yes.
right? And you have 2 kids, right? Part of it was culture, part of it was a set of circumstances, right? How did you feel when that didn't work out? And the money that you had to go to work, and the money that you were earning was pretty much gone.
Well, it wasn't. So I didn't realize. It took me time to realize what was happening. At first, I just thought I was being a great supportive wife, and for 3-4 years, I just gave up all my paychecks. And I guess I felt good because I felt like I was doing my role as a wife. But eventually, when I realized as I was maturing and gaining more wisdom that I stopped taking care of myself. And when I realized that that wasn't being reciprocated, then that's when I really felt it.
Okay. So part of this, push, part of it, this drive that you have, was that part of it maybe inspired by maybe proving something to your parents, proving something to the past relationship that you could do it? What do you think is that drive that has really pushed you? Because clearly there is a force that has been pushing you throughout this time that you want to prove something. Is it to yourself? Is it to other people? What is it?
I think it's a combination of several things. One is belief in myself. I was very insecure as a child, so it took me time to develop that. So that's probably the major reason. But the other reason is I don't like people telling me I can't do something.
Okay, so it's a sense of competition. It's a sense of maybe proving some other people wrong, right? And at least today, right? What I feel is you're competing with yourself, right?
Yes.
Because not only have you left most people in the dust that have way more when they start, but I think what it is today you see the opportunity and you see what is possible, right?
Yes.
So as we wrap this up, somebody listens to this, somebody hears this kind of message from your end. What do you say to them in terms of, because there's a lot of people that would love to invest. Chicago happens to be one of the top markets in the country to invest today. What do you say to them? Because they're like, but Farrah, you don't understand. I am too short. I'm too tall. I belong to this race called humanity, and that's my problem, right? Because a lot of people just have a problem just because of their existence. What do you say to those excuses?
I think those excuses are just excuses. It doesn't matter what type of situation you're in, you can always overcome them. A lot of it is all mental. And I would say that if you're going to invest to build wealth, I've dabbled in stocks, I've gotten my MBA, I've researched a lot. Real estate is the way to go. But if you're going to do real estate, make sure you find the right group and the right people. That is like the key.
So would you say, if I made a statement that success leaves clues, and literally you can follow those clues all the way to your own successful either portfolio, doing flips, whatever it may be, correct?
Yes.
So Farrah, from my end, from the bottom of my heart, not only do I want to thank you for what you've done for yourself, but more importantly, you've helped, I think, inspire a lot of other people. We have heard that. We happen to have given you the award, which was kind of not only just the investor of the year, but somebody who stood out and gave back to the community of investors, and you've helped a lot of people kind of follow your example and help them invest. So from my end, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for sharing this message, and it's been great. This is Andrew Holmes with Real People doing real deals right here in Chicago, and hope you enjoyed this message. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Andrew Holmes TV continues to bring the top REO agents, the bankers, the attorneys, people who are the best and the brightest minds in the Chicagoland area. See, it's impossible over a 20 or 30-minute episode to share all that there is to know in the vast information that's available about real estate investing. But there's one place, and that's February 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It's one place and one time where you can meet the brilliant minds of real estate right at one place and learn from the best of the best. The way to register is go to andrewholmestv.com. That's andrewholmestv.com. We're thrilled and excited. At the last event, we had over 350 people. I know it's going to be a jam-packed event. Look forward to seeing you there. Remember, that's andrewholmestv.com.